We finally got Mauricio Pochettino's very first US men's national team roster. And of course, we have plenty of familiar faces returning. It was a very similar roster to previous ones. Yeah, I'm gonna say it. The roster itself is very similar to a lot of Greg Berhalter's rosters during the second cycle. But of course, the coaching staff changed, but the player pool is the same. So all of this was expected. And of course, there's a lot more to being a national team coach than just selecting the roster. The culture with the team, the leadership, tactics, starting 11, in-game management, behaving like an adult on the sideline, not putting excessive amounts of PowerPoint. Since we don't know much about how Pochettino will go about the US men's national team, there's a lot we can learn from this very first call-up and his press conference. So you may be wondering, what did we learn? Hi, if you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV, and welcome to this episode, which is a 7 Things We Learned episode, right? This is a series here at the channel that we normally do the day after the US men's national team plays. But since this was a very special roster, right? Pochettino's first roster in charge of the US men's national team, we thought to ourselves, why not do it for it as well? We also did an entire roster breakdown yesterday, a live stream, so I'm not going to go through every single name, every single player in this call-up. You can go through that stream if you want me to go on in details about the roster. Today we're going to do more of the lessons. And I want to be very positive from here forward. And hopefully the team, the US men's national team, delivers results. Because it's very easy to be positive when we're winning. And I want to believe that this team can do something special in 2026. I lost a lot of hope when Berhalter was in charge, and I want to get that back. Now, of course, and Pochettino knows this of what I'm about to say. I mean, the guy is from Argentina. It takes 2 to tango, right? The players and the coaching staff. They both have to perform to the best of their abilities. And over the past 4 to 5 years, we kept blaming the coaching staff for not maximizing the talent they have. Now we hired a very good coach, a very good coaching staff. It's up to the players to also perform, and we will be holding them accountable. That said, drop a like in the video if you haven't already, and let me know your thoughts actually in the comment section down below. What did you learn from Pochettino's roster and press conference? And obviously let me know if my lessons make sense or not, and we will be doing this series during the camp coverage. And with that said, let's roll the intro and start with lesson number 1. Lesson number 1, and this is me guessing a little bit, it feels like Pochettino is playing it very safe for now, until he gets to know the player pool much better, which is one of the reasons why I think this roster is so similar to previous ones. Now, of course, understand, most of the rosters will be similar. There are a lot of players that just kind of pick themselves. Pulisic's not going to get cut from the roster. McKennie, Weah, a lot of these guys are locks. But one of the reasons why it's so similar, like players like maybe Christopher Lund, Marlon Fossey, Miles Robinson, Tim Ream still being there, it's probably because he's playing it safe for now. And I saw many snarky comments of it being pretty much Berhalter's roster for the second cycle, and honestly, yeah, it's true. It is very similar to Berhalter's rosters in the second cycle with a few changes here and there. But come on, we changed the coaching staff, not the players. What did you expect? And it's not like the US men's national team has a crazy amount of options when it comes to players that we can just get rid of half of the players in the previous roster. And this is also not a club where you can just go on a buying spree like Chelsea. Plus, Berhalter's rosters were never really the issue during the second cycle. Anyone that followed the US men's national team closely knows that in the second cycle, the roster selections for Greg Berhalter improved quite a bit. There were other issues within the locker room, the mindset, the culture that he built, in-game management, tactics, starting 11. The rosters were fine. So anyone that put that snarky comments like, oh, this is pretty much a Greg Berhalter roster, you're either being disingenuous or you just don't know what you're talking about. And then when you take into consideration that the following players were injured: Tyler Adams, Chris Richards, Serginho Dest, Kevin Paredes, Gio Reyna, Luca De La Torre, Cameron Carter-Vickers, they were all unavailable. This was probably the best roster that Pochettino could have called up. And again, the roster might have some changes over time. Pochettino will get to know the players more, but the tactics, starting 11, mindset, in-game management mentality, those were the main issues that we had to fix last cycle, and that's what he must address and fix as soon as possible. And you know what? I live by a few rules, one of them being KISS, which brings us to lesson number 2. Okay, so lesson number 2, and it's literally KISS. Keep it simple, stupid, which I guess it's not literally kiss. I'm not telling you to kiss anyone. In the previous cycle, we had that issue. Now with Pochettino, allegedly, simplicity will not be an issue, according to Pochettino. When it comes to national team, the coaches don't have much time with the players, at least not much compared to a club environment. So avoiding excessive PowerPoints, instructions, and overcomplicated positional play tactics that can make the team look pragmatic, slow, just not good, like we saw that with the Berhalter era. The coaches have to keep it simple. And Pochettino said the following in his press conference. And quote him, he said, "We want to keep it simple, very clear. We don't want to sit in a room for 2 to 3 hours talking about tactics. We want to have a few simple principles. So as long as he sticks to his word, he will keep it simple," which in my opinion is a good thing. Lesson number 3 is we will be playing in a 4-2-3-1 formation and sometimes in a 4-3-3, according to Mauricio Pochettino, because he said that in his press conference. Now, that doesn't mean much because we have to see how the team plays out in different phases of play, but mainly what I'm expecting here is a double pivot, a 4-2-3-1 with a double pivot and a 10 ahead of them, because that's how Pochettino likes to set up his teams. We did a whole video talking about Pochettino's tactics. You can go check that out. We did it like 3 or 4 weeks ago. It's more or less what we expected, the 4-2-3-1, and he did confirm that that's how he's going to go with it in his press conference. Yeah, don't forget to drop a like in this video, and if I remember, I'll put the Pochettino tactics video in the description of this video, if I remember. Lesson number 4 is that it seems like he's really gonna stick to his identity. We talked about the 4-2-3-1, that's one of it, but he also talked about pressing and counter-pressing and being high up the field. And I also talked about this in his tactics video that we did a while back. He likes to have teams that press, and when they lose possession, to counter-press and regain possession as soon as possible, sometimes in dangerous positions. And he said that in his press conference, that we will be doing that. So expect a team that will press a lot, which is probably why he listed Brendan Aronson as a midfielder. He might see Aronson as a pressing 10. I still think he's going to go with Malik Tillman as the 10, like a Dele Alli role that he had for like Tottenham, but I'm just saying we could see Aronson at the 10. So he will truly stick to his identity, Pochettino. Let's see how it plays out. I have no negative or positive opinion about this specific take until I actually see it. And also I'm going to give Pochettino some time to see how it plays out. But expect a team that presses a lot. Lesson number 5 is that it seems like Pochettino does not rate MLS. Of course, we're gonna have to see the next roster and whatever future rosters he has, but based on this specific roster, it doesn't really feel like he rates MLS. Look at it this way. Despite several injuries that I already talked about earlier in the video, it seemed like he didn't really want to call MLS players unless it was a position where he had no options. We have 2 MLS goalkeepers and 2 MLS center backs in this roster. Nothing more, nothing less in this 25-man roster. The goalkeepers make sense, mainly because of how much we stink in that position. And look, even though Ethan Horvath has been benched at the worst team in the 2nd Division of England, Cardiff City, Pochettino still called him up over Matt Freese, Drake Callender, good MLS goalkeepers. And honestly, do we even have another goalkeeper outside of MLS? I mean, besides the ones in this roster, and some of you might say, what about Gabriel Sonina? Again, he's not playing well in the 3rd Division of England. Don't look at the FootMob ratings. Don't look at what I guess CBS is saying. Sonina's not playing well in the 3rd Division of England right now. So again, there were no other options. And then he brought Patrick Schulte, that might even be our starter right now. And he brought back Zach Steffen. So again, he didn't really bring the guys like Matt Freese or Drake Callender. It doesn't seem like he rates those MLS goalkeepers. And now let's talk about the center backs. Well, he brought Tim Ream, which kind of makes sense still. Again, he is one of our best center backs, mainly because of our lack of depth and because none of the young guys like Jalen Yeo, Josh Winder, Kobe Henry have really stepped up. Then the other one is you have Miles Robinson, which again, Cameron Carter-Vickers and Chris Richards are currently injured. Austin Trusty hasn't really been good for over a year. He was part of the worst defense in the history of the Premier League, and he just lost 7-1 to Dortmund, playing as a center back for Celtic in the Champions League, and he still took Austin Trusty over a Walker Zimmerman, for example. Berhalter would always use any opportunity he could to sneak in a random MLS veteran. We had Shaq Moore in the Copa America, for example. Even without Dest, Pochettino still went with fullbacks in Europe, and two of them kind of playing man leagues like the second division of Italy, Belgium. Are those leagues even better than MLS? Maybe the top teams in Belgium, the second division of Italy definitely is not better than MLS. So again, it doesn't feel like he rates MLS. He also left some of the guys that I would not have brought in, but I'm just saying a lot of the MLS shows would love to see them there, like Georgi Mihailovic. Actually, one of them I would be okay bringing, John Token over Lund, and he still didn't bring John Token. That's actually an MLS call-up I would be okay with. Jesus Ferreira doesn't make it. Shaq Moore doesn't make it, even though Dest is not injured. So again, it doesn't feel like Pochettino rates MLS. Of course, we need more data, we need more rosters to be called in, but at first glance, that's kind of the feeling I got, or the vibe. Lesson number 6 is a tricky one because I don't know if I actually learned this. I'm still skeptical of what he said, and essentially what Pochettino said is that how many minutes you play for your club matters, which sure, it makes sense, but will that affect the call-up? It feels like it was unclear, but this is what he said. And when talking about Matt Turner specifically, so maybe he was referring just to the goalkeepers, I'm not sure. He said something along the lines of not having minutes is a handicap that will not be permitted on the US men's national team, implying that you have to be playing for your club to get called in. When talking about Turner, can this affect maybe Gio Reyna that doesn't really play much for Dortmund? But then again, would not bringing Matt Turner in Horvath be the best way to send this message? Or maybe he meant over the long term, he's going to still bring in players for now, and then in January, he's going to want them to get moves and start playing. I'm not sure what he meant there. So essentially, he is saying club minutes matter, but then he brings players that are not playing. Of course, the goalkeeping position, it's not like he has many options, but if minutes matter so much, you don't bring Horvath and Turner, and you bring the MLS guys I talked about, Matt Freese or Drake Callender, something like that, right? I'm not sure. We'll see if he sticks to his word there or not. Maybe he meant the long term. I am not sure. Now, what's incredible is when I'm talking about the goalkeeping position, isn't it crazy how a country with the size of the United States of America, with the resources of the United States of America, and I guess the athletes of the United States of America, we can't produce one good goalkeeper? One elite goalkeeper? I mean, we used to have Brad Friedel, Tim Howard, and then now Turner, Horvath, Stefan, even Schulte? Really? Lord help us. Okay, lesson number 7. And as always, do as you wish. You don't have to listen to me. I'm just a dude on YouTube. But what I'm about to say is a little bit important. Regardless of the results in this camp, whether we win both games, whether we play well, play poorly, lose both games, there will be an overreaction from the media, from the fans. Don't fall for it. If we win both games, there will be a lot of hype, and you should be happy. But again, that doesn't mean we're going to win the World Cup. That doesn't mean all the issues were fixed. Now, if we don't win a game, or we lose one game here and there, or we play poorly, there's going to be a lot of people in the mainstream media saying Berhalter wasn't the problem, Pochettino can't fix it, or try to blame the players, which it might even be the players' fault. But don't fall for any of that. Let's give Pochettino some time. And of course, we're going to analyze, we're going to enjoy it, we're going to criticize, but once again, believe in his work. Give him some time, at least until the 2025 Gold Cup, and then we can draw a very hard conclusion. Either way, we as a fan base need to be happy again. We need to have hope and believe this team can do well in 2026. And of course, we're going to have reactions. We're going to be reactionary. If you play very well, we're going to get excited, and you should. You should. But don't fall for any fake hype, and don't fall for any fake criticism, right? They're going to try to, if we don't do well in this very first camp, you're going to see some of the Berhalter narrative. Don't fall for it yet. And of course, Pochettino could end up being a major flop. But I'm going to choose to believe that he will turn this ship around, and we are going to do better, and believe that we're going to do well in the 2026 World Cup. And a new era starts now. Alright everyone, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like before you go, and your thoughts in the comment section down below. You know what? If you made it this far in the video, let me know your score predictions for United States versus Panama in Austin, Texas, and then United States versus Mexico, in Guadalajara. Now I want to thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you guys on Monday on the US Men's National Team Abroad series, and then obviously next week on the full coverage of the US Men's National Team camp with match previews, live watch-alongs, and 7 Things We Learned videos. So thank you for watching, and have a great day.